Welcome to the Mystical Mermaid Lounge podcast, a space where all spiritual seekers are honored and celebrated. This podcast was born from the journeys of your hosts, who have each faced her own dark night of the soul, but they've emerged with an unshakable belief in divine connection, cosmic inspiration, and her true life's calling. Join us on a journey of personal growth, transformation, and magical self-discovery. Your first co-host is Chloe Brown, a gifted intuitive empath and shadow work life coach. Your second co-host is Keone Starr, an intuitive energy worker and acclaimed past life regressionist. The Mystical Mermaid Lounge podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody, to Mystical Mermaid Lounge podcast. Today, we have Patricia Hawes with us. Hello. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Patti, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here. So excited. Patti specializes in shamanic journeys, individual healings, and clearing of homes, people, spaces of negative energy and entities. She also does readings in the form of a channeled message of information and inspiration that she sends to her followers daily via email. She has collected and published these messages in 2 books and continues to bring grounding and healing messages to the collective. Patti founded and has produced KarmaFest, a metaphysical festival for spiritual seekers of all modalities and beliefs. After 20 years, she is retiring her producer role after the 75th festival, which is being held in June in Havre de Grace, Maryland. Wow. For more information about Patti, KarmaFest, and her metaphysical services and products, please visit www.karmafest.com or look for KarmaFest on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, we'll have all of that in the show notes for everybody.
This is Keone. All of that good stuff is not even a drop in the bucket as far as everything that Patti provides. And she is also a wonderful mother of a family of people and furry.
Oh, yes, yes. I actually also have some of her products that I use pretty regularly. So I second that without even having the opportunity to meet you in real life yet.
I love making products. And I believe I did a soul purpose reading for you.
Yes, so you did.
I know you. I know all of you. All versions of you.
That was incredible.
I think about that reading every single day.
I have to read it. Oh, no way. That's wonderful. Even when I do my daily messages, I don't know what I wrote until I go back and read it.
Wow.
It gets a little confusing sometimes. So it's a little separate from me and my own thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that could speak to it being so channeled, right?
Is that considered a semi-trance where you're kind of aware and you're writing and thinking, but you're still kind of sitting in the back seat?
I would say so. Something you said the other day, you get hits, you're getting hits.
Yeah, those intuitive hits, I start getting them when I have an energy client coming over. I'll get them while I'm getting ready in the morning, even driving over to the appointment.
Sometimes I just need to get that information into words. It's already starts to come before I start putting it down in words. And then I often take breaks during the soul purpose reading because they're lengthy. But at the same time, it's just like right there. It's just waiting for me. So it's almost like a little channel, like a channel that you could imagine, waiting to be interpreted.
That's like a direct line to wherever you're receiving your information, and then you're just essentially interpreting it, but you're not putting yourself in a full trance.
No, I wouldn't think most things that I do, I'm in a full trance.
Yeah.
I'm always aware if the cat comes up, though sometimes you can tell you're in a trance-like state because your physical needs are not noticed. When I used to do shamanic journeys, I would actually start after I have to use the bathroom or something. You actually really physically need to ground down as well when you're all trancing out. I wouldn't even notice after I got started, and then an hour and a half could go by, and then I'm like, oh, I have to use the restroom. If you're hungry, oftentimes my teacher, Leotha, wouldn't eat before a shamanic journey or wouldn't eat all day. And really, the shamanic journey starts before we all get together and do it. And those physical things just are not noticed during the channeling state, or what you call a trance-like state.
That makes sense because you're so out of your physical body, in touch with the other realm.
Another aspect of that is when I'm doing a shamanic journey and people are out for like an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm in that state for that long. That's why I'm banging on a drum. That's why I'm making didgeridoo sounds from my throat. It's actually grounding. It's grounding for me. And I'll take the drum up close to my body so I can feel it too. It's just to keep my body entertained in the circle while it's happening.
When I'm at Patti's place, I just love the energy of her place. I love that she calls it Karma House because it's just good karma as soon as you walk in. You just get that vibe. But she's always very connectable to source and her intuition and higher self. And I've done several journeys with Patti, and actually, we're getting a personal one. Well, my sister wants to crash, so it might be semi-personal on the books with her. But there's something to be said between Patti's energy, the energy of that house, and Niska, her beautiful little familiar, and then our client that comes in. Something just happens, and technology goes haywire sometimes, oftentimes. Her cat will jump in on the clients. That happens. Her dog used to do it before she passed. So I don't know if Niska's now becoming a little dachshund during sessions.
I think so.
And then doors will open and close. It's pretty cool. And nobody's ever freaked out. They always just say, oh, I see this, I see that.
But I want to speak to that real quick because I'll pass out every time you have a client. And it's probably exactly when you're speaking to their subconscious. What I can't hear you. I'm in a whole other room, but I just go, I go out for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be during a QHHT session. They'll be traveling. Patti will be in her dream state, and just the energy of the entire house just kind of lives on. It's a really cool place, and most of the people, well, I think everybody that you and I have worked with together have, meaning they've come to your house, and Patti's medicinal and healing just standing in front of people. And then after that experience, everybody just seems to feel calm and ready to go, just kind of take a nap and ground and do their thing. So it's a very cool experience.
Glad it's working out. It really seems to be working out. I appreciate it.
Oh, that speaks so much to your energy and who you are as a person, not just what you say, but truly who you embody. So that's beautiful.
Coming to Maryland for the big festival.
Oh, I wish. I don't think I can pull it off for the final festival as far as timeline goes, but I'm pretty sad about that. But I have a feeling I will definitely meet you anyways.
Yes. Sure.
Patti, your website explains how essentially you were compelled to lend a hand during Hurricane Katrina relief effort. Please tell us about those intuitive messages and what finally convinced you to go.
I would love to. And the story is part of the first few chapters of a book that is not yet complete, but it's how KarmaFest began and how my transformation and my enlightenment journey began. Several chapters is on the KarmaFest website. There's a link to it, and it's about how I got to Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana and how I met Leotha, my shaman and my teacher. Usually I start the story that I wasn't into any of this. I worked at Hopkins. I worked in medical research, wore a suit, had a career, kids, had a husband at the time. Yep. This happens a lot when people awaken and their husband, then they're not, and then that changes. Anyway, so I was working at Hopkins and I had seen things in the past. I saw 9/11. I saw it with my eyes open. I was in my townhouse I lived in, and I had this vision. And it was plane crashing into a city. Within 4 to 6 weeks, it happened. And then there was the big tsunami in Indonesia. So many people were killed. And then that year, I didn't see that, but that year we were preparing for my daughter's wedding, and I was with my niece, Jessica, and I had this dream, and it was a vision like 9/11. And I told her, I spelled it out for her. I had this dream. It was like the tidal wave of Indonesia, but it was the waters rising up, and it was in the south. It was in the south of the United States, and a lot of people will die. It's going to rise up in the south. And then 4 to 6 weeks, Katrina hit. When Katrina hit, I felt that was exactly it. This is exactly what my vision was, and I wanted to go there. And so, I was working. I was probably still in school at the time as well. Kids, couldn't really take off of work. But then I would have dreams. I would have dreams and visions constantly. And it was a black man with amber eyes. And he would say, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I would say, "I'm coming. I'm trying. I'm coming." And then I just thought it was representative of going to Louisiana, and people I might help. I would still see his face constantly. And somehow I think my oldest daughter, who works in disaster management now and was starting at that time, she connected me to the Red Cross. So they were so desperate that everybody was allowed to go. So I lived in Maryland, but I could go to Louisiana with the Red Cross. So I got that all set up and told my work. And actually another person in our group was going down as well to help, but we went at different times. My sister takes me to the airport. She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just going to meet someone. I'm supposed to meet someone down there. I don't know what's going to happen." I really felt something was going to change my life. I was going to meet someone that would change my life. And so I'm down there, and the first 2 days, I cried myself to sleep because I was working in a shelter, and there were all these people in the shelter, and they came from, I think it was called the Astrodome, or it was the Dome, and they were in there, and they had to go up north because the waters rose. The waters frickin' rose up as they had already lived through Katrina, and then the waters rise up. So they go up north, and that's where I was in Baton Rouge. And so I go to this big shelter, and then I come back to this little Baptist church. Now I know more about disaster relief, and they're already set up to be shelters if there's ever a problem. The shelter I work with the victims of the hurricane, there was thousands of those, and then we would come back, and so we would eat jambalaya, and it was really great, and I loved the jambalaya so much, it was crazy. But I would go into the cot, and then it was just and I think these types of things awaken people because everything was so strong. Not one tree that fell down, all the trees fell down. So if you think you could feel a tree, you'll know because all the trees are down. Or if you have empathy for someone, you'll feel it there because there's thousands of people that are grieving, went through trauma, on and on. I really feel it does help awaken people to be in these types of situations. So what happened was on the third night, I'm eating my jambalaya again, and this guy, Frank, he's like, "Hey, you should come in and do yoga with me. It changed my life." We're going to do yoga? I mean, don't we need to give people food and try to find them new places to live or whatever? I didn't say any of those things. I just thought it was so strange. And then I'm like, "Yoga here in the church?" And he's like, yeah, it changed my life. You have to. He like dragged me in there. So I go in there, and there are these two lovely young girls, and they're going on about the yoga, and they led us through the yoga. I could totally feel a change in my body. Oh, by the way, I was finishing up my second master's in psychology. So This was practical and instantaneous relief. And I was like, what is happening? So I could breathe. I could feel it right away. It was cool. And then these girls, when they were finished, they're like giggling and just having a good old time. And that too was striking to me. I'm like, how could you be laughing? We're in like hell over here in Louisiana. They're like, now we're going to do meditation. Come on, Leotha. But they were laughing at this person. I couldn't see. He was in the front row because he couldn't bend down all the way. He's like really tall. He was wearing jeans. He wasn't in yoga stuff. They were just full of joy. And I was like, what's going on? So he comes up and he sits down, and we're to sit down and eventually lay down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here he is. Amber eyes. Here's the man. But it didn't really click then. So then we all laid down, and the girls were so happy to lay down to be part of the meditation. So he was Leotha Douglas. He grew up in Louisiana. That is his birth name. And Leotha actually means a balance of the masculine with the feminine, which he was really good with. He just came at people with just openness and love. He lived in Encinitas area near San Diego. He was there with another group. I think it was called Amarita or something like that. It was out of India. So they were coming to help the relief workers. So he does a meditation, but he has his drum. I think what he did was just like clear my chakras. And when he was clearing my top chakras, I think all the corrosion and all the blocks that I had were just cleared. So I woke up and I sat up and I'm like, you are the one that I came here to see. And I think I'm supposed to promote you. I think I'm supposed to promote this. I think I'm supposed to promote you, which is strange since I worked in medical research. What did that, I mean, it kind of relates, but I meant it serious, promote you. So I had 1,000 questions and he just kept answering my questions. By the time we left Louisiana 3 weeks later, we were on the phone. He was answering my questions. Not why I left my second husband. We were just friends. But we did talk on the phone. And when the first KarmaFest showed up, or when the shaman comes to town, stays at my house, I can imagine my second husband being like, what? What is going on? My whole life just totally changed. Trajectory, it just totally changed. So I would ask him lots of questions, and his first book he wrote, he dedicated it to me because basically it was just all the answers to my questions that I constantly would ask him. So he became my spiritual teacher, and a couple months I had a retreat with Leotha. I flew Leotha. She was one of the yoga teachers. So we had the yoga, we had meditation, we had shamanic journey. The reason that there is a KarmaFest is because some person had seen my flyer about the retreat and asked if he could come and have a table and sell his stuff. He would pay me to do it. After the retreat, we need to reach more people. And the way we can open it up is to have a festival and have vendors. And so the first KarmaFest happened within 6 months. I was still working, still going to school. And so then, more people came. And then by the second year, more people came. And then by the third year, it was a lot of my family helped. Everybody was helping. And this one guy's like, now we're playing baseball. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So it was all like a learning curve. Nothing was second guessed. I just went for it. So I never thought I would do any of these things. Even 20 years later, my learning happened within the first, let's say, 5 years and then 8 years. I wasn't planning to become any of these things. I was just promoting them. It was remarkable right away. I could see that these people that came to KarmaFest, that had someone that led the meditation, was a surgeon, someone who, wow, these are educated people. These are remarkable people. And so those people changed my life because I've been surrounded by them for 20 years. Psychics, healers, people that teach this, people that know that. And so I just kept absorbing it. But in the first 5 to 6, 7 years was when I started doing some of the things like Reiki, then Reiki 1, Reiki 2, getting certified, a master. And then I was going to a church, and then I became an adept in the modern mystery school. In the church, I became inducted as a swami. And then yoga teacher training, which was actually really, really hard, but I really loved it. So I have all these things and people surrounding me doing so many things. And so KarmaFest has always been, here's a whole bunch of things. I'm sure there's something that you can find that will benefit you. So I've never pushed one way. I've had every way all the time. Though I followed Leotha's way, I went into shamanic journeys with him, hundreds of them. And at first I was doing the healing work myself because there was a lot that needed healing. And they were remarkable, and journaled them all, and they were just amazing. My family that had trauma and experiences too, they were healing from things. KarmaFest would come along, and then the first KarmaFest, my daughter got a reading and found out some things about her past life. She switched her life up where, she became safe. She became ready to excel in a whole new direction by one reading. And I went to school all those years to try to help her. And she got one reading and she's like, yep, okay, here we go. It was serious stuff. And she listened, and she changed her life and left a dangerous situation. So that's what my book will eventually be about, is how all the KarmaFests have helped my family, helped what I've seen with it, and how I've grown with it. And sometimes there'd be some backlash to it. People in our society sometimes do not like independence, independent thinking, and empowerment, and especially for women or anyone. We get some backlash with that at times. That's never slowed me down or bothered me. Though I was speaking to the point about Leotha with his going into his journey. So eventually I stayed awake, and I would hold space, but at the time didn't realize that was happening. After so many years, I started leading journeys. The last year of his life, he wasn't able to come back to Maryland. He wasn't able to fly back. And so in 2012, he wasn't able to come. But at that time, I had already started doing journeys with a friend of mine who was the drummer. And luckily that was the case, because Leotha passed on, and then I was ready to do the work. None of that was ever discussed. I'm going to train you to do this work. Just happened.
I love that you followed your intuition, you followed your heart, and you just did what you knew was correct without having expectations. Thank you for sharing that. That's big. You went to yoga to try to recalibrate and ended up getting essentially a shamanic journey.
Yeah, in the first session, so we were still in the church and people were still sleeping on cots. It was still Katrina relief, and it was just after dinner. It was just after dinner, calm down. It was just to relieve the relief workers in the form of yoga and meditation. So the yoga struck me because I was physically and mentally distraught. And then I could feel the changes right away. When Leotha came up and we laid down for a meditation, he specifically worked on the chakras. And I was crying the whole time. So really, I would say the first part of it was just chakra clearing work. Sometimes it's the person that's leading the circle or the person that's holding the space. Maybe he was just supposed to be there when I did have this clearing so that he could help guide me from there. I mean, It could have been set up a long time ago, lifetimes ago.
Right. Which to me, it definitely sounds like it was.
Yeah, because I can't imagine it was more than 2 hours long. It was probably just the normal yoga timing, maybe an hour and a half. And then, so yoga 45 minutes, and then Leotha a half hour to 45 minutes. So it was just that. It was the one session.
You opened one door to a whole new world, literally.
Yeah, it was a whole new world.
I hear often about people's stories and it coming off of a one particular instance. What about Leotha's message and teachings do you think resonated so deeply?
Leotha just had a lot of information because he was doing the work for, gosh, I don't even know how long, probably less than 10 years by the time I got to him. I didn't know of any books. I didn't know of any meditation, but he knew of them. What are you reading now? Have you listened to this person? Have you ever heard of Amma? Oh, he loved Edgar Cayce. So when he would come to the East Coast, we would go down to the Edgar Cayce Foundation. So he just knew the things and he didn't push much of an agenda. He had certain phrases that he would use, like, don't make me wrong so I can be right. He was very good at processing people after a journey, and he would talk to them and listen. He listened more than spoke always. I would say he was quiet, he was friendly, he laughed a lot. It's just very unique. And so he didn't follow one path. He would introduce me to people that did follow a certain path and was strict to it, but he always stayed, a little bit here and a little bit there. So I'm like that by nature anyway. I can be extreme, hence 20 years of a festival. Come on, that's extreme. Not one special thing about his message, just that he was non-judgmental constantly, especially with my personal life and any personal changes in my life that happened after KarmaFest began and after my awakening. He would just listen and just give general advice from his heart. You may be able to see his message better than I would because I was so close to him, but he wrote a book called How Life Happens for Me and Not to Me When I Stop Playing Small. People still read it today. People often say, can I do a shamanic mentorship? Do you do mentorship? Do you do this or that? The way I would do that would be how Leotha did, was just be there for me as time passed and as I came into my own. One of the KarmaFest volunteers, when I had KarmaFest here in Delaware, his name's Brandon, and he shows up and he was like just the shining star with wanting to know a lot of information. I could just see him blossoming very quickly. And he would come over and he would grab KarmaFest materials or just check in. He never asked that I would be his mentor. On the one day he did ask. We were talking about Leotha and how Leotha was my mentor. And then he had said that he had never traveled by plane, but he could have gone to, this is Brandon, he could have gone to California or somewhere else. He had aunts there. I'm like, where in California? I don't even know how this conversation even happened. It was just nuts. Where in California? Oh, near San Diego. Where near San Diego? Oh, Encinitas. His aunt knew Leotha Douglas, used to treat Leotha Douglas with massage, and Leotha would do shamanic journeys at her place, which means I could have actually been at Brandon's aunt's place helping Leotha with a shamanic journey, because I used to go out to California all the time with my work. Thank you, Hopkins. And then on like the side, we would do some journeys. So Brandon's like, well, you're doing for me what Leotha did for you. And it all comes full circle.
One of the things that, and modalities you mentioned was the Modern Mystery School. Could you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I got very excited when I saw the Modern Mystery School, even the symbols that they use. So I went to a holistic show. I was probably trying to solicit some vendors or just talk to them, telling them about KarmaFest. And I just saw the symbol, and you can look it up and it's remarkable. But I think it resonates with us because of past lives. These are the mystery schools. I think there were 7 mystery schools. This is just me talking off the top of my head. Like from Atlantis, the information came. It was Library of Alexandria burned down. Like we were trying to hold on to this information, the information about technology and the information about mostly connection to spirit and healing and those types of things, and how the universe works. So they had said in the 2012 prophecy that the shamans would come down from the mountains and teach the people. And that's a general idea. And so the mystery schools opened up to teach the people. Now that did happen before 2012, when I had discovered the modern mystery school. So you could go and you could take classes, and then they really wanted you to become an adept, or, you know, you go through levels of classes and then you can go higher and higher. And in my personal experience, those things were very helpful, but my avenue was getting really narrow through them. One of the first channelings I did, a boyfriend at the time recorded it, and he said, "Who are you channeling?" And I said, Metatron. And I felt stupid saying that because I thought Metatron was from the Transformer movie, when the cars change into action figures. I did not know that word. I did not know him as a god or archangel or anything like that. When I do the channel messages, I don't really ask who I'm talking to. It stays pretty consistent. Sometimes I'll feel like Edgar Casey's coming in. Sometimes it'll be more like a Jesus vibe, though Jesus's vibe never changed. It was always the same message, just forgiveness and love. So I do believe it. Most of the time it's Metatron. Anyway, this young girl, she's like, do not say that you channel Metatron to the mystery school because they will not believe you. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't need to get the avenue to get narrow. I just felt that I learned enough. If I need more, I'd go back. So I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from yoga practices. I learned a lot from Reiki, on and on. Check out beautiful symbols, because they've been passed on for a long time and they're remarkable. When they were disappointed that I wasn't moving higher up, come to KarmaFest and you can start activating other people, because you do a DNA activation. That was one of the first things they do. That was the first thing that I had done. And so that teacher was my teacher for a while. And I'd be like, you know, come on to KarmaFest and gather more people. So it was always like reciprocal. I wanted to learn. They were teaching. They wanted to meet more people. We had KarmaFest. KarmaFest people came because they wanted to learn things. It was all just a big happy share.
Going back to Leotha's message that you're carrying on still, even as you're bringing KarmaFest to a close, is truly unconditional love without boxing people in, just listening.
Right.
And regardless of the differences, appreciating and making sure each person feels seen, loved, valued, heard, all of the things that we need.
Right. Yeah, I came in that way. I was always really open to people, and that's why I wanted to be a therapist or go into psychology as well. And because my path changed dramatically, and I've seen other people's paths change dramatically from the beginning, though, before I had my teachings, KarmaFest was to be open. It wasn't to be pushing one thing. We had the Baptist church at KarmaFest several times. Cool Reverend guy, and they would come. We had a Christian church that infiltrated KarmaFest once undercover and tried to cause all kind of problems. We resolved that.
That's karma drama. I love that.
Karma drama. Oh, yeah. The book's full of it. I just need to finish the book. What I was talking about before that was that I don't judge people's paths. People judge Doreen Virtue's path when she denounced what she was doing in Christianity. Who knows? She could have had such crazy past lives. Maybe that was her path. So I don't judge it. One of the first people that Leotha introduced me to, her name is Heather Hawes. And she said, for the first KarmaFest, I'm trying to start this camp for indigo children. I know what a camp is. Indigo children, what? So I looked up indigo children on and on. So they're Gen Xers, basically. So I worked with the indigos specifically. Actually, for many years, any healing work I did was only on indigos. Granny wanted me to work on them now. You know, someone else at a different age now. Indigo age, yep, I'll work on you. I just felt there was a path. I was trying to get them back on the path. Usually they had been on the path and then fell off the path. And then I was just getting them back on the path. But that was just a weird thing that happened to me. But before that, we had Camp Indigo for the indigos. And the indigos message is transparency. Don't like labels. That, you know, you'll get a whole list of them. I used to get really upset because I would make a beautiful setting and the indigos would vent and then they'd have fun and then they would all be happy. And I would get hurt. And it was because Maggie Salter became one of my second teacher. As Leotha was leaving, Maggie had come in and definitely filled his shoes, giving me information, allowing me to understand more and more. She said that I was an indigo scout. So scouts come in early to help pave the way. I wasn't an indigo, but I'd come in with that energy so that I can help them. And so the stuff that I did 20 years ago and 10 years ago is different than what we're going to do now and 10 years from now and 20 years from now. There may be safety reasons. There may be all kinds of reasons. Maybe there was a time that we were to push out into the world. You could do this, you could do that. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And maybe we're not going to do that for a while. Who knows? For safety reasons, if you get my drift. I find this fascinating. One Edgar Cayce lifetime, he was to come in and he was Ra-Ta in Egypt. He was like the shaman, the priest of a lot of people. And he was to change the way the families were working, that he was supposed to have them marry and raise the families together. Because before that, people that were monogamous and raise the kids together, or maybe there were different ways, you know, that the kids would be raised by the women or whatever. That was his actual task. So I love thinking about that, where the indigos came in and said, no, we want transparency. No, everyone's included. We're not going to label people, on and on and on. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Sometimes it's just getting the message out there. The only reason that I use the word shaman at all is because Leotha considered himself a shaman.
Yeah, well, he was able to be between worlds.
Yeah, and that's what a journey is, yeah. And a channeled message. Shamanism is a spiritual practice that involves a practitioner shaman interacting with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness, such as trance. The goal of this is usually to direct spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world for the purpose of healing, divination, or to aid human beings in some other way. Divination or messages. I don't have to say that I can heal people or perform an exorcism or things that I like to do. But I know I give messages, and right there, that's enough. When shamans do journeys, the past had a comb, and they would comb their hair because the energy gets in the hair. Yeah. So it's really weird when I do a journey. I used to have like a pashmina over my head or a band. After we get rocking, after a while, I'll put my hair up. There's too much energy in my hair. But yeah, that's the thing. That's probably why. I'll show you my cool shaman comb that came from Peru.
That's interesting because almost every time I do a session, I question whether to leave my hair down or whether I should bring one of my jaw clips to put it up.
Yeah. And I usually have a little hair doodle on my wrists so that I can put it up. It's like every time. Try putting something on your head. I'll make you a little doily. Put it right on the top of your head.
That's interesting because I was reflecting back, and when things do get hairy, and I'm relying on my intuition. Ironically enough, my intuition is most clear when I'm in the most survival moments. So in those moments, I usually can feel it. And that's when my hair always ends up going bun, and then I won't touch it at all.
I did have a hit before we started, and I didn't know that you had trauma, but the hit relates to this, not a hit of weed or anything like that or mushrooms, but no, just an intuitive hit. So that if you are harmed or abused, what do you need? Extrasensory perception. It's developed as a survival mechanism. And so we all probably have it, but those that had to be cautious in a variety of times of their lives would start to use this extrasensory perception. First, you're just listening better or being cautious, or your energy rises up. Maybe it's just getting the energy to come up. I feel that that's part of a lot of people's abilities. It doesn't sound like a very enlightening thing, but I think it can be part of those that have the abilities of extrasensory perception.
Growing up, I was under the belief that we were Native American and we had all these Native American cultural influences. And so I thought growing up that a shaman was the medicine woman in our tribe on native lands. And so
when I looked this up a couple years ago, it had more definitions, more interpretation or shaman. They are around the world. Every definition that I looked up said that it was around the world. Though I do think the wise men, the wisdom, as they call it sometimes, the medicine woman, all of these helpers are also doing what that definition said, which was getting information from above to help the people that in the physical. So I think it can go for a lot of different people working in that type of realm. One of the coolest things about everything that I've done is that after a while, I stopped reading books. There were no books really on shamanism or how to be a shaman or how to do a shamanic journey, whatever. And then I would read things and I had already figured them out or be like, oh, that happens for me. Oh, now there's words for it. Oh, I call it that. On and on. So most of my learning was just, one step at a time with experience and gaining the knowledge. Knowledge is within and has a lot less to do with words. Also, I'm a Pisces, so I'm like, say this or I'll say that and blah, 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 So one thing that I think with the type of work I do and what I've seen other people do is, let's say you have Reiki, you get Reiki and you get attuned on and on, you're doing Reiki. So usually you're bringing the energy down and you're helping the person getting the energy within. But then I'll notice other people, and what I had started to do is pull the negative energy out. And that's part of that definition. It said rid of negative energy. I'd have to look at it again, or maybe that was another one. Rid of negative energy. So it's like I told you before that it just taking out the trash. Taking out the trash.
Yes.
How easy is taking out the trash? It's pretty easy. It's not easy if you are not clear.
Right.
Because if you're not clear,
you don't know what to take out.
That trash is going to resonate with every single problem that you have in your body. When I used to work on people, I could tell when they had an ovary problem. Why? Because I had one. Hit physically right there, like right here, this is the problem. I think, to be clear, I don't think people need to be the great guru and super, super highly trained to help people. I know that for a fact because they will learn as they continue practicing and continue helping people. They will have to adjust to help themselves while they're helping people. No one is going to be super clear. It's all a process, and we're never going to get to it in this lifetime. Every day for a channeled message for myself, and which goes out to everyone, is I ask, what would you have me know today? What is a good topic for today? And so I get the information and write it down. I send it out to the world that wants to read it. So when I'm doing a soul purpose reading for you, I'll say, what would you have me tell this person today about their soul purpose here on earth? I'll try to spell it out as much as possible. Their soul purpose here on earth, any information that you can give me now. And I'll start getting a bunch of information. And just like in a reading, if you're getting a reading from someone, I felt that they were being too vague, then I'll try to narrow it down. That was really great about her past life. Would you tell me about, and I'll just kind of narrow it down. So to get more information for you, most people say, just do it and give me no questions. But now I do ask, if you have questions, you can give me like 3 to 5 questions and they will be addressed in the reading. But the information will start where it wants and make sure it tells you all that it wants to tell you right now. And I'll just make sure that the answers are also in the reading. So basically I'm transcribing and also trying to make sure I understand the words that I'm getting. And the only way it works is if I move out of my way logically and let the words come through, because I'll be like, I don't know that word. That's got to be wrong. That word's too big. And then I'll look it up later and it'll be like, yep, that was it. You don't have to do anything to get a soul purpose reading. Just click on the website.
Yes, that's awesome. I didn't have any expectations going into it. I just knew that I wanted to connect. And then I was like, well, did you have any questions? And I thought there for a second and I thought, nope, I don't. So as I go to move on to the next thing, I just found myself typing and bloop, all of a sudden I had 3 questions.
Oh, really?
Okay. And so it was,
See?
yeah, it's really
Oh, that's
just
good.
amazing. I couldn't wait for Keone to get back from her trip so I could share it because I didn't want to be selfish and hijack her trip overseas. But man, that was so exciting. So
Oh,
we'll have to link that for
wonderful.
everybody, or at least how to get their own,
Very
not
good.
my personal,
Thank
to be clear. So I wanted to ask you because it sounds like for pretty much the last 20 years, you have been investing deeply every bit of yourself into KarmaFest and the events and the individuals and everything that it represents. What's next for you?
Well, I've been looking at what I like to do in actual little tasks. I do enjoy the administrative side of KarmaFest and planning. I get a little overexcited every time. This is gonna be the biggest, the greatest, or whatever. I'm very supported. Like the portal will open. I'll say the portal's open. All the planning I did for a whole year, things just stack up really fast and things move really fast. Last year we had a fire at the venue, and at last minute I had to change the date and the location. And so I had planned a whole festival and had to switch it really quick. And then I had 2 more festivals after that within 3 months, and they all needed big attention. So I kind of wore myself out. But who would have expected that there would be a fire at the venue where we couldn't get in? It's like 200 and some acres of land. It didn't all burn down. It was just one building. Though, anyway, we're going back there this year. We're going to bring our beautiful energy back to Stepping Stone and Havre de Grace and bless the area where it was burned. A side note, a lot of the things that I've done are on grounds that need clearing, places that have seen several wars, places that have seen animal abuse, all a variety of places. And so KarmaFest helps with that. You know, I get the people together and it just somehow happens. Next for me is someone could buy KarmaFest. That's been discussed. And I could potentially franchise KarmaFest. I have people. Brandon, for example, that I told you about. He basically could run a KarmaFest. So we could use the name that's a registered trademark. People would be able to do one festival at a time to keep the integrity of the festival. Like if it goes to awry, then you're not going to get to do it again. So there's a possibility that KarmaFest could actually blow up and get bigger and better, which would be crazy and awesome. I'm not expecting that. I'm focusing on this KarmaFest. The one reason I want to get out of it, that clock is ticking every day, every day, every day, every day. I try to make sure I get the tasks done. Also, everyone, I act like I've never done it before. Like, oh my gosh, what about, I've done this 70 sometimes. Come on, you can do this. Remember, you do it this way. Okay, I got it now. But when I do finish this KarmaFest, which is right around the corner, I want to finish my book. I have a screenplay about Edgar Cayce that was very close to being made into film a couple times, never happened. I believe that my book would help with the screenplay to get more viewed. So the book, screenplay, I like retreats. I want to have what I want to call a mega retreat, not a MAGA retreat, but a mega retreat, because all these people, they're trying to make a business out of this. And it takes a lot of people and it's stressing them out. Each one of them are learning for themselves, just like I did. So instead, why don't we all band together? Yes, you're going to lose money because you're renting out that space. You don't have enough people. You're not charging, whatever it is. Let's get it together. This leader can have their group. This leader can have their group. We can switch groups. We can come together and we'll do it all together. So I want to do like a mega retreat. I'm going to have to change that name. Okay. It'll be a beautiful, all-inclusive retreat. So that's one thing I'm looking at. I do have some other ideas to keep the communities together, keep them moving forward. And yeah, we'll see what comes.
That's super exciting.
You just can't move.
Yeah.
No, I won't. I'll be here.
Please don't make me move states again, girl.
One of the most important things we ask guests is to leave an invocation or something to just resonate with the listeners.
I feel that we could all be reminded that we're so much more powerful than we think we are. And oftentimes we're afraid because of past lives or being ridiculed or being looked at as being different. Though there's so many of us now. And in these times of, what is right and what is wrong, you don't have to shine your colors, but you shouldn't dim yourself out of fear. There's other people like you. You could get pushback, but the more you stand tall in it and the less that you let your head get in the way and the more that you stay in your heart, you will keep shining and shining, and that is enlightenment.
I had this visual of a big sunflower and the pushback being the wind and just the beauty of it and the strength as you were saying that. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Thank you again for being here, Patti. We love you.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Thanks for diving into the depths with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, show your support at buymeacoffee.com/mystical mermaid lounge, as every little ripple helps keep the magic flowing. Would you like some more deep, soul yearning conversations? Well, then swim on over to our sister podcast, Past Lives Cafe, where Keone deep dives into those past life experiences. Also, we'd love to hear from you. Please don't forget to rate and review and drop your feedback and comments at our website, mysticalmermaidlounge.buzzsprout.com. Thank you again so much, and don't forget to catch us at the next high tide. Bye-bye.